The thunder cracked like a gunshot outside our fifth-floor walk-up in Brooklyn, shaking the thin walls of our shoebox apartment. But it was nothing compared to the bomb Samuel detonated when he grabbed my face and kissed me like the world was ending. His lips tasted like cheap whiskey and regret, rough stubble scraping my skin as his hands trembled against my jaw, pulling me closer even as the storm howled its disapproval through the cracked window. In that split-second blur of heat and heartbeat, I realized the straight-arrow jock I'd shared rent and bad jokes with for 2 years had just rewritten our entire goddamn story, and there was no going back. I met Samuel freshman year at NYU, back when we were both wide-eyed kids from opposite coasts trying to fake it in the concrete jungle. He was from some podunk town in Ohio, all cornfields and Friday night lights, with shoulders broad enough to block out the sun and a grin that could charm the pants off a statue. Literally. The girls on our floor called him Sammy Sunshine, the kind of guy who organized pickup basketball games in Washington Square Park and blasted Springsteen on his ancient boombox like it was still 1985. Me, Daniel Hayes, theater major from rainy Seattle, the skinny queer kid with a sketchbook full of half-drawn faces and a chip on my shoulder the size of the Space Needle. We got thrown together in the lottery dorms, him with his duffel bag of flannel shirts, me with my dog-eared copies of Tennessee Williams plays, and somehow clicked. Or at least, it didn't explode. Samuel was straight as an arrow, or so he swore up and down, regaling me with tales of high school sweethearts and conquests that made my stomach twist in that familiar cocktail of envy and relief. "Dude, you're like the brother I never had," he'd say, slinging an arm around my shoulders after a late-night cram session. His cologne, something woodsy and cheap, lingering like a promise he didn't mean to make. I'd laugh it off, pour us both another round of whatever rotgut we'd scored from the corner bodega, and we'd crash on the futon watching bootleg DVDs of The Godfather until the sun clawed its way over the East River. By junior year, we'd upgraded to this roach-infested 2-bedroom in Bed-Stuy, splitting the $2,800 rent like it was chump change instead of a monthly bloodletting. Samuel was killing it in his business classes, interning at some Wall Street firm where suits older than our parents treated him like the golden boy he was. I was scraping by on barista shifts at a hipster cafe in Williamsburg, auditioning for off-Broadway gigs that paid in exposure and existential dread. Our lives were parallel lines, his veering toward corner offices and picket fences, mine looping through smoky clubs and fleeting hookups in the back of dive bars. But the apartment was our neutral ground, his weights in the corner, my scripts scattered on the coffee table, the fridge stocked with his protein shakes and my almond milk. That summer hit like a fever dream. It was the kind of New York July where the air hung heavy, thick with exhaust and unspoken hungers, and the subways turned into sweat boxes that spat you out gasping. Classes were out, but Samuel's internship kept him grinding 80-hour weeks, coming home at midnight with his tie askew and eyes like roadkill. I'd be there, sprawled on the couch in nothing but boxers and a tank top, nursing a lukewarm PBR and scrolling Grindr for distractions that never quite stuck. "You look like hell, man," I'd say, tossing him a water bottle. He'd catch it one-handed, flash that grin, fading now, edged with something brittle, and collapse beside me. "Feels like it. These sharks are gonna eat me alive." Then we'd order greasy slices from Luigi's, the kind loaded with pepperoni that left orange stains on the cardboard box, and talk shit about everything except what was really gnawing at him. I noticed the cracks first in little things. The way he'd linger a beat too long when our knees bumped under the kitchen table, or how his laughs came out forced, like he was auditioning for Normal Guy. One night, after a brutal day where his boss had ripped his pitch to shreds, He showed up with a six-pack and a black eye, self-inflicted, he claimed, from punching a heavy bag too hard. Just needed to blow off steam, he muttered. Ice pack pressed to his cheek as we sat on the fire escape, the city humming below like a beast too tired to roar. I wanted to ask about the shadows under his eyes, the ones that had nothing to do with sleep, but instead I lit a joint, contraband from my barista hookup, and passed it over. He took a drag, coughed like a rookie, and handed it back. Our fingers brushed, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to that point of contact, electric and unspoken. "You're solid, Danny," he said then, voice low against the distant wail of sirens. "Don't know what I'd do without you dragging my ass back to earth." I shrugged, heat creeping up my neck, and mumbled something about rent checks. But inside, it stirred, that old ache, the one I'd buried under layers of sarcasm and side eyes. Samuel was straight. End of story. Except stories have twists, and ours was barreling toward one like a subway train with no brakes. The night it all shattered was a Thursday, the kind of sticky evening where the thunderheads piled up over Jersey like bad omens. I'd scored tickets to this indie film fest in Bushwick, artsy queer shorts that promised to twist your guts, and invited Samuel as a joke, figuring he'd bail with some excuse about a date. But he showed, scrubbed up in a button-down that hugged his chest just right, hair still damp from the shower. "Figured I owed you," he said, clapping my back a little too hard. "For putting up with my moody ass." The theater was a converted warehouse, all exposed brick and mismatched seats, the air buzzing with the low hum of anticipation. We grabbed spots in the back row, knees knocking in the dark as the lights dimmed. The films unspooled like fever dreams, boys stealing kisses in cornfields, men unraveling in boardrooms, love blooming in the cracks of ordinary lives. Samuel shifted beside me, thighs tense against mine, his breath hitching at the rawer scenes. Halfway through, during a particularly gut-wrenching short about a closeted athlete coming undone, I felt his hand, fingers splayed, hesitant, graze my thigh. I froze, pulse thundering in my ears, waiting for the pull away that never came. Instead, settled, warm and heavy, like an anchor in the storm. Afterward, we spilled out into the night, the festival crowd thinning into the haze. "That shit was intense," Samuel said, lighting a cigarette he bummed from a stranger, the flame flickering across his face. Smoke curled up toward the sodium lamps, and he offered me a drag. I took it, our knuckles brushing again, and this time the spark jumped straight to my core. We walked in silence back to the L train, the city a blur of neon and noise, until he stopped under an awning as the first fat drops of rain began to fall. "Danny," whatever it was, it died on his lips as the sky split open, dumping sheets of water that turned the sidewalks to rivers. We bolted for home, laughing like idiots, soaked to the bone by the time we hit our stoop. The door stuck. Fucking super never fixed it, and we tumbled inside in a heap, dripping and breathless. Samuel kicked it shut, his shirt plastered translucent to his skin, outlining every ridge of muscle I'd pretended not to notice. He ran a hand through his hair, spraying droplets, and met my eyes with something feral, unguarded. "Fuck this heat," he growled, peeling off his shirt and tossing it toward the hamper. It missed, landing in a wet slap on the floor. I should have looked away, cracked a joke, anything to reset the air crackling between us. But I didn't. "Yeah," I whispered, my own shirt following his, the cool air raising goosebumps on my arms. We stood there, chests heaving, the thunder rumbling like applause from the gods. And then he closed the distance, hands framing my face, mouth crashing into mine with a desperation that tasted like salvation. It wasn't gentle. It was teeth and tongues and the scrape of calluses from his weightlifting gloves, his body pressing me back against the wall with a force that pinned me in place. My hands found his waist, fingers digging into the V of his hips, pulling him flush as if I could fuse us together and never let go. He groaned into my mouth, low and broken, hips grinding in a rhythm that spoke of months, years, of pent-up storm. The rain battered the windows like fists demanding entry, but we were lost in our own deluge. Shirts discarded, skin sliding slick with sweat and storm. When he finally broke away, foreheads pressed together, breath ragged, his eyes were wild, pupils blown, cheeks flushed. Danny. Shit. I didn't mean, but he did. We both knew it. He yanked me toward the bedroom, with the unmade bed and posters of Yankee greats curling at the edges, and we fell into it, a tangle of limbs and whispered curses. His mouth mapped my collarbone, my chest, hesitant at first, then hungry, like a man starved. I arched under him, guiding his hands lower, showing him the way without words because words would have shattered this fragile miracle. It wasn't perfect. He fumbled, laughed nervously when his teeth grazed too sharp. But there was a tenderness in his exploration, a reverence that made my throat tight. "Tell me if it's too much," he murmured against my stomach, voice muffled, and I threaded my fingers through his hair, tugging him up for another kiss that said never too much. We moved together, slow then frantic, the bed creaking under us like it might give way. When he entered me, careful, achingly so, with lube swiped from my nightstand, it was like the thunder had lodged in my chest, every nerve alight. His face buried in my neck, breaths hot and uneven, and I held him through it, whispering his name like a prayer until we both shattered, the world narrowing to the pulse of aftershocks and the rain's relentless drum. We lay there after, sheets twisted around our legs, his arm heavy across my waist. The storm had eased to a drizzle, tapping Morse code against the pane. "That was," Samuel trailed off, tracing lazy circles on my hip. I turned to face him, searching those blue eyes for regret, but found only a quiet awe. "Yeah," I said, smiling despite the ache blooming in my chest. It was. Morning crept in like a thief, gray light filtering through the blinds to paint stripes across Samuel's back. He was still asleep, face slack in a way I'd never seen, vulnerable, almost boyish, without the armor of his easy charm. I watched him for a minute, heart doing that stupid flutter thing, before slipping out to brew coffee. The kitchen felt surreal, counters cluttered with last night's takeout like evidence of a crime scene. I leaned against the sink, mug steaming in my hands, replaying flashes, the hitch in his breath, the way he'd whispered fuck Danny like it was a revelation. It wasn't just sex. It was a door cracking open, spilling light into rooms we'd both kept boarded up. He stirred around 9, padding out in boxers, hair a glorious mess. "Morning," he mumbled, voice gravelly, avoiding my eyes as he poured himself a cup. The silence stretched, thick as the humidity still clinging to the air. I waited, buttering toast, the knife scraping louder than it should. Finally, he leaned on the counter opposite me, knuckles white around the mug. Last night. That was intense. Like, whoa, intense. A half laugh. Forced. I nodded, keeping it light. Yeah. Good intense. Though, his gaze flicked up, holding mine for a beat, long enough to see the spark reignite before dropping. The best. But, shit, Danny, what does this mean? We talked then, or tried to. Perched on the fire escape with our coffees going cold, the city waking below in honks and hollered curses. Samuel admitted it wasn't the first time the thoughts had crept in, late-night scrolling porn that veered too close to the edge, dreams he woke from hard and ashamed. I thought it was just stress. You know, the internship, the pressure to be this version of me. His knee bounced, a tick from his ballplayer days. I listened, not pushing, sharing bits of my own jagged path. The coming out at 16 that splintered my family, the hookups that left me hollow. It's not a phase, Sam. Not for me. But whatever this is for you, we figure it out together. He nodded, fierce, pulling me into a hug that smelled of sleep and promise. Together. Yeah. The rest of the week blurred into a haze of stolen moments. Lazy mornings tangled in sheets, his lips brushing my temple as we dozed. Evenings where he'd cook, badly, bless him, pasta that boiled over while we made out against the fridge. He was tentative at first, hands shaking as they learned the map of my body, but eager, insatiable. We'd laugh about it later, over beers on the couch, his head in my lap as I ran fingers through his hair. You're a quick study, I'd tease, and he'd grin up at me. I soft. Got the best teacher, but the world outside didn't pause for our bubble. Samuel's internship ramped up, swallowing him whole brunches with bosses, schmoozing at rooftop bars where the air reeked of ambition and aftershave. He'd come home wired, tie loosened, venting about the alpha dog bullshit until we'd tumble into bed to unwind. I had my own grind, a callback for a queer ensemble piece downtown, slinging lattes to pretentious trust funders who tipped in crypto. One night, post-audition high, I dragged him to a drag brunch in the village. Mimosas and lip syncs to Madonna that had him howling with laughter, cheeks pink from more than the bubbly. This is your world. Ha, he said later, as we wandered hand in hand through the crowds, hidden, but there. It's ours now, I replied, and the way he squeezed my fingers made my chest ache with something dangerously close to hope. Then came the party. His firm's end-of-summer bash. Black tie optional at a loft in Soho. The kind of scene where deals got sealed over caviar and cocaine. Come with, he urged, casual as if it were a Knicks game. As my +1. Tell him you're my roommate/stylist or whatever. I hesitated. The theater kid in me screamed token gay, but the part that lit up at his touch won out. So I dug out my one decent blazer, the thrift store silk that hugged just right, and we cabbed it over, his hand on my thigh the whole ride like a talisman. The loft was a glittering cage, crystal chandeliers dripping from rafters, finance bros in bespoke suits clinking glasses with women who looked like they'd stepped off a runway. Samuel slipped into host mode seamless, charming the room with that Ohio drawl softened by 2 years of city polish. I nursed a gin and tonic in the corner, fielding polite interrogations. So, Daniel, what do you do? With deflections about my upcoming production. It was fine, almost fun, until his boss, a silver fox named Harlan with a handshake like a vice, cornered us by the charcuterie spread. Samuel here's our rising star, Harlan boomed. clapping my roommate's back hard enough to slosh my drink. Gonna make partner by 30. Mark my words. Samuel flushed, mumbling thanks, but Harlan's eyes slid to me, praising. And you, creative type, we could use some flair in marketing. Before I could quip back, a woman materialized, tall, blonde, in a dress that screamed money, looping her arm through Samuel's. Sammy, you promised me a dance. Her name was Becca, sorority sister from his Buckeye days, now a junior analyst with daddy's firm connections. She air-kissed my cheek, all teeth and perfume, and whisked him to the makeshift dance floor where EDM pulsed low and sultry. I watched from the sidelines, stomach nodding as she pressed close, his hands polite on her waist. It was nothing networking, right? But the sight twisted something ugly in me. Jealousy, sure, but laced with fear. This was his world, straight lines and safe bets, and I was the detour. When he finally extricated himself, face apologetic, he found me by the balcony doors, staring out at the twinkling grid of Manhattan. Hey, you okay? His breath was warm on my neck, fingers brushing my elbow. I forced a smile. Peachy. Becca seems enthusiastic, he snorted, pulling me into a shadowed alcove. Old news. Harmless. Then he kissed me, quick and fierce, right there with the city sprawling below like a witness. You're the one I want, Danny. Don't forget it. We bailed early, tipsy and tangled in the cab back, his mouth on my neck leaving marks I'd have to hide come morning. Home was a frenzy. Clothes shed in the hall, my back against the door as he dropped to his knees, tentative but determined, learning with that same fierce focus he brought to everything. Like this, he'd murmur, eyes locked on mine, and I'd gasp yes, fingers fisting his hair. We collapsed laughing afterward, pizza boxes from the night before crunching under us, his head on my chest as the AC wheezed like an old man. This is real, right? He whispered into the dark. Us. I kissed his forehead, tasting salt. Real as it gets, but reality has teeth. A week later, Becca texted him. Innocent enough. A group invite to alumni happy hour. He showed me, hesitant, like handing over contraband. Should I go? This career shit. I shrugged, playing cool even as doubt gnawed. Go. Network your ass off. He did, coming home late with stories of awkward toasts and too many IPAs. But there was a shift after, a hesitation in his touches. A phone flipped face down more often. I chalked it up to fatigue. Buried myself in rehearsals for the ensemble gig I'd landed, off Broadway. But paid miracle. We still had our nights. Slow dances in the kitchen to Coltrane on vinyl. His confessions whispered in the shower steam about how he'd always felt off, like a puzzle piece jammed wrong. Then the email hit. Samuel's acceptance to a fast-track MBA program at Columbia. Full ride. Starting fall. This is it. Danny, he said, grinning over takeout tie, waving the printout like a flag. Big leagues. Pride swelled in me, mixed with a pang. Columbia meant uptown polish, a life accelerating while mine sputtered in the burrows. Proud of you, I said, clinking my singa against his. Just don't forget the little people. He leaned across the table, kissing me soft. Never. The cracks widened that month. Late calls from Harlan. Mentoring sessions that stretched past midnight. Samuel came home distracted, scrolling job boards with a fervor that left me sidelined. One night, I found him on the couch, staring at a photo on his phone, him and Becca at some college formal. Arms around each other, smiles wide. Nostalgia trip? I joked, dropping beside him. He startled, locking the screen. Yeah. Weird how time flies. The lie hung there, acrid as burnt toast. I pushed it down, focused on us. Planned a surprise. Tickets to Angels in America revival. Post-show dinner at that Italian hole-in-the-wall in Little Italy where the candles flickered like secrets. He was thrilled, eyes lighting up in a way that reminded me why I'd fallen hard, stupidly. The play gutted us both. Pryor's monologues echoing too close to our own unspoken fears, the specter of loss and revelation. In the cab home, tears streaking his cheeks, he clutched my hand. I don't want to lose this. Lose you. You won't, I promised, meaning it with every fiber. But promises are paper in a storm. 2 days later, I came home early from a double shift, arms full of groceries, to find him on the phone in the bedroom, door ajar, voice low and urgent. Becca. Yeah, I missed that too. The simplicity. Pause. No, it's not like that. I'm figuring shit out. My bags hit the floor, cans rolling like accusations. He emerged, face paling. Danny, it's not. But I was already backing away, heart hammering. Figuring out? With her. The fight was ugly. Words flung like shrapnel, his denials cracking under my hurt. It's work. She's connected, but the doubt had rooted, thorny and deep. We patched it, sort of make-up sex that was more desperate than sweet. His apologies murmured into my skin. You're it for me, he vowed, holding me close as dawn broke. I wanted to believe him, clung to the boy who'd kissed me in the rain. But the internship ended, and with it, the buffer. August waned, leaves hinting at gold in the parks, and Samuel grew distant, rehearsals for his new life pulling him away. I threw myself into the play. Opening night loomed, a queer odyssey of fractured loves, and told myself it was temporary. The night before my premiere, he bailed on dinner. Harlan wants to talk trajectory, text read, with a heart emoji that felt like lipstick on a lie. I sat alone at the diner, picking at fries, the jukebox crooning Patsy Cline like a dirge. When he finally stumbled in at 1 a.m., reeking of scotch and something floral, Becca's perfume, I didn't yell. Just looked at him, the man I'd let in, and saw the fracture lines. Tell me the truth, I said quietly. He collapsed on the bed, head in hands. I don't know who I am anymore, Danny. This everything, but the world out there. Tears tracked his cheeks. I sat beside him, arm around his shoulders, the weight of it all crashing down. Then let's find out. Together. September arrived like a slap, crisp air slicing through the humidity, students flooding back to campus with their fresh starts and forgotten summers. Our apartment felt smaller, the walls pressing in with the ghosts of what we'd built and what was crumbling. Samuel dove into Columbia headfirst, orientation mixers, case studies till dawn, a schedule that turned him into a stranger who crashed on the couch fully dressed, tie askew like a noose. It's temporary, he'd mutter when I nudged him toward bed, but the days blurred into weeks, our touches reduced to hurried pecks at the door. My play opened to a packed house, standing ovation, critics buzzing about raw queer fire. Samuel made it, slipping in late with a bouquet of bodega daisies, eyes shining from the back row. Backstage, amid hugs from the cast, he pulled me into the green room, kissing me deep and unhurried, hands framing my face like I was porcelain. "You were fucking brilliant," he breathed, and for a moment, it was us again, untarnished, electric. We celebrated at a dive bar after, shots of Jameson chasing adrenaline, his laughter loose as he regaled the cast with exaggerated tales of our first date, the film fest, sanitized for straights. But Becca was there too, orbiting like a satellite alumni connection. He swore, her hand lingering on his arm a beat too long. The betrayal didn't come with fanfare. It slithered in on a Tuesday, mundane as mail call. I was at the cafe, steaming oat milk lattes for influencers, when my phone buzzed. A screenshot from a mutual friend, forwarded with wide-eyed emojis. Samuel's Instagram, private, but hacks happen, tagged in a group pic from a networking gala. Him and Becca, arms linked, her head on his shoulder. Caption: reunited and it feels so good, Buckeye Pride future power couple. My vision tunneled, the espresso machine hissing like laughter. Power couple. The words echoed, hollowing me out. I confronted him that night, printout trembling in my fist as he walked in, suit rumpled from a lecture. "What the fuck is this?" He snatched it, face draining of color. "Danny, it's nothing, PR bullshit. Harlan set it up, said it looks good for the firm." Lies stacked like bricks. Her just a friend, the gala mandatory. I paced the living room, scripts crunching underfoot, voice rising. "You kissed me last week." Said I was it. Was that PR too? He recoiled, eyes flashing hurt that mirrored mine. "No, God, no. This is complicated. The program's intense. Expectations to play straight." The word landed like a gut punch. He flinched, jaw tight. "You don't get it. My folks, the guys at school. If this gets out, it's over." The fight escalated, furniture shoved aside as we hurled truths we'd skirted. I accused him of cowardice, using me as a summer fling while he hedged bets with her safety net. He fired back, voice cracking. "You think it's easy? Waking up wanting you but staring down a life that's supposed to be different." Tears streaked his face, but anger won. "Maybe I need space to figure this shit out." Space. The word eviscerated me. "Fine," I spat, grabbing my jacket. "Take the whole damn apartment." I stormed out, pounding pavement till my feet blistered, ending up at a 24-hour diner where the waitress poured endless coffee without questions. He texted at 3 a.m. "Come home. Please." I did, dawn breaking bloody over the skyline. We didn't speak, just curled together on the bed, him spooning me, breaths sinking in uneasy truce. "I'm sorry," he whispered into my hair. "I love you." The words hung, first time spoken aloud, a lifeline I grasped despite the bruises. "Love you too," I murmured, turning to kiss him soft. We made love then, slow and deliberate, reclaiming each other inch by inch. His touches were apologies, my responses forgiveness. "We'll make it work," he promised after, tracing my ribs. I nodded, believing because I had to. But doubt festered. Becca's texts lit up his phone, innocent check-ins, he claimed, and his late nights stretched. Study groups with vague excuses. I threw myself into the play's run, Extensions keeping me out till midnight. Monologues about betrayal echoing too close. One castmate, Javier, lithe dancer with a flirt smile, offered distractions. Post-show drinks that turned to hands on thighs, a kiss in the alley that tasted like escape. I pulled back, guilt sour on my tongue. Not ready, I told him, and he nodded, no pressure. But it stirred the fear. If Samuel could waver, why couldn't I? The climax brewed at parents' weekend. Samuel's folks flew in, sturdy Midwesterners with sensible shoes and smiles like store-bought cookies. I'd met them once, summer barbecue where they grilled, literally, about my major, eyes sliding over my rainbow pin like it was dirt. This time, he wanted me there, neutral ground. Show 'em your family. I agreed, nerves jangling, dressing in chinos and a button-up to blend. The dinner was at a tourist trap steakhouse in Midtown, all dark wood and overpriced ribeyes. His dad, Tom, clapped Samuel's back till it reddened, booming about the family legacy. Mom, Linda, fussed over sides, her gaze on me polite but probing. It went south over dessert. Becca happened to join. Invited by Harlan, Samuel swore, eyes pleading across the table. She was all charm, regaling them with tales of Samuel's brilliance, her hand brushing his under the pretense of passing bread. Linda lit up. Such a lovely girl. When's the wedding? Laughter rippled, forced from Samuel, knife twist for me. I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, staring down the mirror's accusation. Idiot. He's playing both sides. Back at the table, the conversation had veered. Tom grilling Samuel on settling down. Linda cooing about grandkids. Plenty of time, Samuel said, but his foot nudged mine under the table. A secret Morse, hold on. The drive back was silent torture. His parents in the rental car behind us. Becca tagging along for the tour. Drop off at our stoop. Hugs. Cheek kisses. Linda's whisper in my ear. Take care of our boy. Like I was the help. Inside. Door barely shut. Samuel yanked me close. Mouth desperate. That was hell, he growled. Hands roaming. She's nothing, swear. We stumbled to the couch. Clothes shedding. His body a frantic anchor. But mid-thrust, his phone buzzed. Becca. Great night. Let's do brunch tomorrow. He ignored it, burying deeper. But the moment fractured. Pleasure tainted. After, spent and sticky, I confronted him again. End it. Her. Whatever this charade is. He sat up, sheet pooling at his waist. Face stormy. It's not that simple. My dad just offered me a job at his firm back home. After graduation. Security. The air sucked out. And, he looked away. I said I'd think about it. Think. As if I were an option on a spreadsheet. With her as the plus one, my voice broke. He reached for me, but I jerked back. Danny, I love you. But this world, it's crushing me. We shattered then. Words weaponized. My accusations of using him. His defenses crumbling into sobs. I don't know how to be this, he cried, gesturing wildly. Gay. Bi. Whatever. Not in their eyes. I held him through it, rocking like a child, but the seed of betrayal had sprouted thorns. Then choose, I said finally, voice steel. Us or the facade. He nodded into my shoulder, whispers of I choose you, but dawn brought distance, his eyes evading, packing for a solo retreat to Ohio. To clear my head, he left that afternoon, duffel slung over shoulder, kiss lingering on my lips like goodbye. 2 weeks. I'll call. The door clicked shut, echoing hollow. I sank to the floor, the apartment vast and empty, rain starting again outside like ironic applause. Javier texted, "Drinks?" I replied yes, dressing in the dark, stepping out into the city that swallowed secrets whole. The 2 weeks were purgatory. Rehearsals blurred into bar crawls, Javier's easy affection a balm that soothed but didn't heal. Samuel's calls were sporadic, loving, but laced with static. Mom's asking questions. Dad's pushing the job. I heard Becca in the background once, laughter tinkling like glass shards. Networking, he dismissed. Doubt metastasized. The play closed to rave reviews. Cast party a whirlwind where I danced with strangers, chasing numbness. Home was a minefield, his weights gathering dust, our sheets still scented with him. He returned on a Friday, tanned and tense, bursting through the door with takeout and that grin weaponized hope. "Missed you," he said, pulling me into a kiss that tasted of airports and uncertainty. We fell into bed, reunion fever burning hot, his body familiar yet altered, like a song remixed wrong. "I told them," he gasped after, tracing my jaw. "About us." "Sort of." My heart stuttered. "Sort of," he deflated. "I said I'm seeing someone special." Didn't specify. Half-truths. The old ache flared. We tried. God, we tried. Date nights at hole-in-the-wall jazz clubs, where he'd hold my hand under the table, eyes defiant against stares. Thanksgiving loomed. His parents' invite extended awkwardly. "Bring your friend Daniel." And we planned a counter. Escape to Seattle. My turf, where rain washed clean. But Becca circled. Study buddy, brunches turning to dinners. Her Instagram a parade of couple-y pics he swore were staged. For the optics, he'd say. But his touches grew perfunctory, guilt shadowing our nights. The breaking point came midterms. A Friday when I got home early, callback for an agent, Buzz Electric to find them on our couch. Samuel and Becca, her head in his lap, his fingers in her hair, laughing at some inside joke. The air smelled of her perfume, his cologne. They sprang apart, faces guilty mirrors. "Danny, early shift," Becca chirped, smoothing her skirt. Samuel stammered, "Just dropping off notes. Lies. Reeking." I dropped my bag, voice eerily calm. "Get out," she did, heels clicking judgment. But Samuel stayed, pleading. "It's not what it is," I cut in, fury cresting. "You've been playing me since summer." The straight guy dipping toes, then running back to safe. Tears welled in his eyes. "I love you, but I can't." The pressure, betrayal crystallized. Not just her, but his choice to straddle, leaving me collateral. "Then don't," I said, opening the door. "Goodbye, Sam." He left in the rain, duffel retrieved, final kiss a ghost on my cheek. "I'm sorry." The door shut, thunder rumbling distant. I slid down it, sobs racking, the city indifferent outside. Winter clamped down hard that year, snow blanketing Brooklyn in a hush that amplified every echo of absence. Samuel's side of the closet gaped empty, his protein powders congealing in the pantry like forgotten promises. I moved his stuff to storage, methodical, numb, then crashed with Javier for a week. His Soho sublet a cocoon of takeout and tenderness. "He's a fool," Javier murmured one night, lips brushing my temple as we binge-watched pose on his fire escape, Manhattan glittering like fool's gold below. "But you're not." It helped, that uncomplicated want. But guilt shadowed it, Samuel's face haunting every touch, a specter I couldn't exorcise. The play's buzz landed me an agent, sharp as nails Rita from CAA, who booked auditions faster than I could memorize sides. "You've got that broken heart fire, kid," she said over Zoom, her Tribeca office a blur of awards behind her. "Channel it." I did callback for a Netflix series, a queer dramedy pilot that had me flying to LA for chemistry reads. The City of Angels felt like a fever, palm trees swaying against smoggy skies, casting directors with teeth like sharks. I nailed it, opposite a brooding heartthrob named Theo, our scene a raw makeout that left the room breathless. "You're in," the director said post-rap, clapping my back. Pilot greenlit. Moving to Hollywood. Back in New York. The news hit like a lifeline. Javier threw a party, loft in the LES. Fairy lights strung like stars. Drag queens belting Gaga till the neighbors banged brooms. I danced till sweat slick. Theo's texts lighting my phone. Missed that spark already? But Samuel lingered at the edges. A mutual friend spilling he'd dropped out of Columbia. Holed up in Ohio reassessing. Becca posted engagement bait. Subtle. A ring emoji in stories, but whispers said it fizzled. Her daddy's connections not enough for his ghosts. I saw him once, mid-December, at a holiday market in Union Square. Bundled in a peacoat, breath fogging as he browsed ornaments, profile sharp against the twinkle lights. Our eyes met across the stalls, his widening, mine stealing. He approached, tentative, hands shoved deep in pockets. "Danny, you look good." Lie, I was hollowed, cheeks gaunt from skipped meals. "Thanks." Pilot gig, pride edged my voice. He nodded, throat working. "Heard. Proud of you." Silence, thick as the falling flurries. "Becca and I. It's done." "For real." I laughed, bitter. "Good for you." Hurt flashed in his eyes. I fucked up. Royally. Thought I could have both worlds. But I lost the only one that mattered. My chest tightened. Old wounds weeping. "You chose, Sam." Live with it. He reached then, gloved hand on my arm. Plea raw. "Can we talk? Coffee?" I came out. To my folks. Screaming match. But they didn't disown me. Said they'd try. The vulnerability cracked me. Boy from the cornfields. Storm chaser. Now adrift. But betrayal's scar throbbed. "Not now," I said, stepping back. "Maybe never." He nodded, defeated, melting into the crowd as carolers trilled Silent Night. I walked home alone, snow muffling the city's pulse, tears freezing on my lashes. Christmas in Seattle was a bomb. Mom's gingerbread, sister's bad puns, the sound's gray churn mirroring my churn. Dad, post-divorce, softer now, hugged me tight at the airport, whispering, "Heard about the show. Kicking ass. Kiddo." No questions about Samuel. They knew from my voicemails, the ragged edges. New Year's brought resolutions. Therapy? Finally. Gym, for me, not mirrors. And a pact with Javier, no more half-loves. He visited LA. For pilot table reads, our chemistry off-screen simmering into something real. Lazy Sundays at Runyon Canyon, his laugh chasing shadows. But Samuel haunted. Emails started in January, sporadic, unassuming, saw your trailer. Electric. Then calls. Voicemail when I screened. Just wanted to say. I'm sorry. Again. Working on me. I deleted, blocked, but curiosity gnawed. Mutuals filled gaps. He'd moved to Chicago. Entry-level at a nonprofit. Giving back, they said. Dating casually. Men this time. Figuring the ropes. Becca, back to Ohio. Wedding bells with a lacrosse bro. Karma. Poetic. Spring bloomed cruel. Pilot picked up. Full series order. Me jetting between coasts for press. Rita negotiated a sweet deal, co-producer credit. And suddenly I was Daniel Hayes, the it guy. Red carpets and podcasts dissecting my authenticity. One interviewer, sly over mics in Silver Lake, probed, that raw emotion in episode 3, personal? I paused. Camera lights hot. Love's a storm. You weather it or get washed away. Clickbait gold. But truth serum. Samuel surfaced at South by Southwest. Austin's heat wave a mirror to our summer inferno. I was there for a panel, Queer Voices in Indie, sipping Shinerbach backstage when a producer nudged me. Your ex is in the doc section. Cornfields and closets or some shit. My blood iced. His film? Turned out he'd pivoted. Film classes at community college. Channeling chaos into a short doc on rural queer kids. I skipped the screening, but fate's a bitch. Ran into him at the closing party. Rooftop bar overlooking the Colorado River. Twangy guitars strumming below. He was leaner, beard shadowing his jaw. Eyes clearer but shadowed. Danny, no surprise, just quiet joy. We talked, stilted at first, over tacos and tequila, about the series, Theo's a Catch. His doc, cathartic. Raw. Laughter crept in, old rhythms resurfacing. His bad impressions of Harlan, my theater war stories. You look happy, he said finally, sunset gilding his face. I am. Honesty. No barbs. He nodded, swirling his drink. Good. Deserve it. Pause. Heavy. I was a coward. Betrayed us both chasing a script that wasn't mine. The admission hung. River murmuring agreement. I could have walked, Javier waiting in LA. Life ascending, but the boy from the rain pulled. Why now? He met my gaze. Steady. Because I love you. Still. And if there's a sliver left, I fight for it. No halves. Heart stuttered, hope. Treacherous. It's not that simple. He smiled. Sad sweet. Never was. But I'm all in. If you are. We didn't kiss. Not then. Exchanged numbers. Unblocked. And parted with a hug that lingered. His stubble rough against my temple. Back in LA, I told Javier everything over dim sum in Echo Park. Go slow, he advised, wise beyond his years. But don't ghost your heart. Texts started, memes, then calls, late-night confessions, his voice a bridge over miles. He visited set, watching me film a breakup scene with tears he wiped away after cut. That's not us, he murmured, thumb tracing my lip. Ours gets a rewrite. Summer circled back, humid and haunted. I flew to Chicago for a long weekend, his turf now, a walk-up in Wicker Park with exposed brick and a balcony overlooking the L. We cooked, burnt stir-fry, laughing over wine, and talked till dawn. His coming out ripple, sister supportive. Folks thawing with emails. My series renewal season 2. Emmy whispers. Touch was tentative. Hands brushing over dishes. Knees knocking on the couch during In the Heights. When it ignited, slow burn in his bed. Bodies remembering. He whispered sorry between kisses, and I silenced him with enough. But conflict lingered. Undercurrent. His nonprofit gig ground him, but family pulls tugged. Dad's health scare. A farm inheritance he eyed warily. Can't go back fully, he admitted one night, head on my chest as trains rattled past. But forward? With you. I held him tighter. Betrayal's echo faded. Not gone, trust rebuilt brick by fragile brick. Fall brought crossroads. My show demanding LA. Permanence. His roots deepening in the Midwest. Long distance. He proposed over FaceTime. Snow dusting his windows while I sweated in traffic. Or. Compromise. Chicago had a theater scene. Booming LA. Visits feasible. We plotted. Split time. His doc gaining festival traction. My character arc mirroring ours, redemption laced with grit. Thanksgiving tested, his folks' farm. Awkward invitation extended. I went, nerves electric. Samuel's hand in mine under the quilted table as turkey carved and pies cooled. Tom grunted approvals over pie. Heard about your show. Linda's hugs tentative but warming. No grand speeches, just quiet acceptance. Humanistic in its mess, progress, not perfection. By winter's thaw, we'd carved a rhythm. Weekends shuttling skies, calls syncing like heartbeats across time zones. Samuel's doc premiered at Tribeca, standing O. Distribution whispers, and I walked the carpet with him, arm looped casual, flashes popping like stars. Post-party. In our old Brooklyn haunt, Luigi's. Grease eternal. He proposed a future. Move in. Chicago. Or LA. Your call. I laughed. Pepperoni stringing between us. Both? Hybrids exist. He grinned. That old sunshine cracking through. Deal. But stories don't end tidy. Humanism demands grit. Spring unearthed old wounds. Becca's wedding invite, mass email. Blast from the past. Dug up with a side of schadenfreude. Samuel stared at it. Jaw tight. Should I go? Closure. I swallowed jealousy. Growth's bitter pill. If it heals. He burned it instead. Ashes in the sink. Turning to me with fire. You're my closure. We made love fierce that night. Reclaiming scars. My series swept awards, glad nod. Me on stage in a rented tux. Dedicating to the storms that shape us. Samuel cheered from home. Tears in his eyes over stream. His nonprofit expanded youth program for rural LGBTQ+ kids. His doc the cornerstone. Your influence, he said. Visiting set in Vancouver for a guest spot, cameo as a coach. Meta as hell. Off camera. We hiked Stanley Park. Hands clasped. Evergreens whispering approval. Conflict crested summer solstice style. His dad's heart attack. Real this time. Yanking him to Ohio mid-filming. I followed. Scrubs and sterile weights. Holding his hand through the vigil. Tom pulled through. Stubborn as his son. Waking to mumble. Brought the family. Progress. A nod to me. No qualifiers. Recovery was rough. Farm chores delegated. Samuel torn between duty and dreams. What if I stay? He confessed one dawn. porch swing creaking, coffee bitter. Build here. With them. Fear clawed, abandonment's echo, but love's voice steadied. Then we build. Together, we did. I wrapped season 2. Negotiating remote rights, he launched the program. Barn converted to community space. Chicago became base, our walk-up upgraded to a brownstone with a yard for future mutts. Betrayal's ghost visited in nightmares, his face twisting to hers, but mornings banished it. His coffee ritual, kiss hello like oxygen. Fall wedding season mocked. Javier's, to a sculptor named Alex, under Brooklyn oaks. Samuel Bestmanned, speech heartfelt, love's not straight lines, it's the detours that define. I caught his eye mid-vows, throat tight. Later, slow dancing to At Last, he murmured, "Marry me? Someday." I nodded, tears salting our kiss. Someday soon. Winter solstice marked 2 years since the storm. We drove to Ohio, farm lights twinkling, tree aglow, parents waiting with pie and tentative toasts. To family, Linda said, glass raised, Tom grunting agreement. No fanfare, just quiet weave, his world embracing mine, humanistic in its humble grace. Back in Chicago, snow falling soft, we stood on our balcony, city hushed. Changed forever, Samuel whispered, arms around me from behind, chin on my shoulder. That night, I turned, kissing him deep, taste of whiskey and home. Nothing happened? I teased, old wound scarred sweet. He laughed, low. Everything did. Thunder rumbled distant, promise not threat. We went inside, to bed and beyond, story unfolding. Not perfect, but ours dramatic, emotional, laced with romance's grit and humanity's hope. Epilogue Whispers. The series ran 5 seasons, me directing episodes with Samuel consulting, queer authenticity gold. His program grew national, docs spawning sequels. We married in a barn, his folks, rain pattering roof like applause vows raw. Through betrayals and storms, I choose you, guests. Javier toasting, Becca sending regrets, closure complete. Honeymoon in Seattle, sounds rain washing final doubts. Life's no fairy tale, arguments flare, distances test, but we weather, rooted in that summer night's truth. Love changes you, pretends be damned. And in the pretending's end, we found forever.